Okay, this is lecture 5 or chapter 1 or CFIN7. We're going to talk about business ethics. So, what is business ethics? According to the dictionary, it's a standard of conduct or moral behavior. So, the company's attitude or conduct towards employees, customers, community, stockholders, so forth. We certainly have seen, over the past, say, 30, 40 years, attitudes towards employees in many companies have changed. The corporate thinking being that employees are disposable, as a result, employee benefits declined over that period of time. We're seeing some backlash with regard to after COVID. A lot of folks haven't wanted to go back to work, and people figured out that they could survive, with less. So it takes more to get them to go to work. Corporate governance, settle rules that a firm follows when conducting business. As I mentioned in a previous lecture, Sarbanes-Oxley changed the way firms operate. Sarbanes-Oxley was a direct response to the tech bust and the accounting, I guess, for lack of a better word, irregularities. Basically, it was fraud. There were companies that were falsifying financial statements, and their accountants were participating in this falsification. It actually saw the end of one of the major accounting firms in the United States. Arthur Andersen was, I believe at the time, the largest accounting firm in the United States. At that time, I believe we had the Big Eight. I think we're down to the Big Four now because through thanks to mergers and so forth. But companies were falsifying earnings reports, and their accounts were complicit. So what Sarbanes-Oxley did was it increased the financial reporting requirements of firms. It made executives responsible for the content of those financial reports. It was actually thought when Trump came into office that Sarbanes-Oxley would be repealed. It obviously didn't happen, but interestingly, good corporate government usually generates higher returns, but there's a reluctance on a lot of firms to accept that. So firms look at it as a cost. Forms of business in other countries. So foreign firms, they have higher concentration of ownership, fewer owners than similar U.S. firms or similar sized U.S. firms. This is probably one of the biggest things. It goes back to what we were talking about with regard to the capital structures of banks in the previous lectures. Foreign firms have different relationships with their financial institutions. They're not as heavily regulated. They generally have overlapping boards. There's generally one large financial institution that handles the vast majority of the lending with regard to that corporation. They're much less likely to go to the bond market. They'll go to their bank. Multinational corporations. just about every corporation you can think of, as far as large corporations or multinational, they're operating, in, multiple areas of the world. They and most multinationals are operating in, all over the developed world. Surprisingly, for example, in China, the Buicks, for instance, the large Buicks are very, very popular over there. So the General Motors have a very active business in China as a result. So, but reasons to go international: to seek new markets, raw materials, some minerals, some material may be more likely or more readily available, or only available in a foreign country. So, new technology, production efficiency. This generally comes in the form of lower cost of labor. 11 years ago, I wrote a paper for my master's thesis with regard to basically compared the U.S., Mexico, and China with regard to their labor markets. So at the time, the cost of labor in Mexico was about a fifth of what it was in the U.S., and then the cost of labor in China was a fifth of what it was in Mexico. So if you went to other less developed Asian countries, the cost of labor was even lower. So that's why Nike does. I don't think they have a single factory anywhere near the U.S. But then they're just an example. They're not alone, but that they're certainly one good example. Avoid political and regulatory hurdles. The factors distinguishing domestic firms from multinational firms. Multinationals have to deal with currency denominations, economic and legal issues. So the economics of and legal issues that occur in a foreign country become relevant. Language issues, cultural issues, role of government, political risk. Political risk is the threat that the government fails or is overthrown, and so forth. That is the end of chapter 1.